In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a smoked chuck roast. Now, the first thing we're going to do is set our smoker up. We're going to be using our drum smoker. So we'll open our lid and take our cooking grate out, followed by our heat deflector. And then you want to fill your charcoal basket up with either lump charcoal or briquettes. And then I'm just going to bury a firelighter in there and light it up. And now we've got about 10 to 15 minutes before those briquettes are going to be ready. So we'll use that time to prepare our chuck roast. Now, I'm going to be working with this beautiful little 2 kilo chuck roast. And all I'm going to do is start by taking any excess fat and silver skin off. Now this one really doesn't have much. I might knock a little bit off the top right here. It's all pretty good around here. And then I'll flip it over and just tidy up the bottom a little bit, but honestly, this one doesn't need much at all. All right, so that was quick and easy. Didn't have to trim much off that one. So now we're ready to season it up. Now go ahead and use your favorite beef rub or some salt, pepper, garlic does the trick, but I'm going to be using my favorite combination, which is some of our steak shooter and beef bounce. Both of these are available on our website, so make sure you check them out. But first, I'm going to give our chuck roast a nice light coat in some olive oil, and this is just going to help our rubs stick to the meat. And then I'm going to go down with our steak shooter first, as that's a finer rub. And then we're just going to top it off with beef bounce, which is going to give us a really nice bark. Now, chuck roasts make really good pulled beef. It's honestly one of my favorite cuts to use for pulled beef. But in this video, we're going to smoke this one more like a brisket. All right, and then you just want to get any rub you've got on the cutting board. Make sure you've seasoned all your edges as well. And now this is ready to go once our smoke is ready. But I just want to quickly point out the shape of this chuck roast. This is a beautiful uniform shape. This is going to smoke up really nice, and because of that nice uniform shape, we're going to get a nice even cook all over this chuck roast. So now this is trimmed and seasoned. We'll come back once our smoke is ready. So now our briquettes are burning nicely. We can shut our lid, open up both of our vents, and then we'll let our barbecue preheat to just below our target temperature, which for this cook is going to be around 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius. All right, our smoker is just about up to temperature and we're almost ready to get our beef chuck roast on. So I'm just going to get some smoking wood ready. I'm going with a beautiful little chunk of cherry, which is probably the best all-rounder there is in my opinion. And it's probably one of the best smoking woods you can pair with beef. And because our beef chuck roast is quite a small piece, it's only around 2 kilos like I mentioned earlier, we don't need much smoking wood, so I'm happy with just one. I want a nice subtle smoke flavour. Anything more than one and you run the risk of that smoke flavour becoming quite heavy. But how much smoke flavour you like in your meat comes down to personal preference, so if you want to use a few chunks, go ahead. But now our smoke is up to temperature, let's get our beef chuck roast on. So now we can open our lid back up, we'll get our smoking wood chunk straight on where the fire's burning, then we can get our heat deflector back in, then our cooking grate, and then our beautiful chuck roast. Now we'll shut our lid and let that smoke away for a while. Now with fire management on our drum smoker, it's super easy. While we had our lid open, that temperature has obviously dropped, but once that temperature recovers to that 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius range, I'm simply just going to shut our intake vent down a little bit, then I'll give our smoker 10 minutes to see where it stabilizes off. And if our temperature is still too high after it's stable, I'll just shut that intake vent down a little bit. If it's too low, then I'll just open it up a little bit more. In this drum smoker, it doesn't take long to get right, or if you're using another style of barbecue like a kettle or an offset, I've got plenty of videos on fire management with them types of barbecues you can check out. But for this chuck roast, all I want to do at the moment is just let it smoke away for a few hours until it develops a really nice bark. All right, so our chuck roast has been smoking away for about 3.5 hours now. Let's check on it. All right, and that is looking really nice. Got a good bark on there. Let's have a check of the internal temperature. And right in the middle, we're at 170 Fahrenheit or about 75 degrees Celsius. So let's get this out and onto some foil. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. We'll get 2 tablespoons of butter in there. You can add some stock in there if you like, but this beef chuck has got plenty of fat in there that's going to still render out. And then we'll wrap this nice and tight. And then we'll get this back in the smoker and shut our lid. And now all I'm going to do is let that chuck roast go until it reaches an internal temperature of 93 degrees Celsius or 200 Fahrenheit. I reckon that'll take another 2, maybe even 3 hours to get there. And once we hit that point, we're going to start checking for probe tenderness. All right, we've been wrapped up for an hour and a half now. That puts us 5 hours into this cook. We're just over our target internal temperature, around 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius. So I'm just going to open our chuck roast up and have a probe around. Now this one's feeling really nice. It's not as soft as what I would have taken it if I wanted to make pulled beef. But like I said, I'm smoking this one like a brisket and I'm happy with the probe tenderness for that. And when you wrap in foil, you always lose some of that bark. So to help get some of that back, back, we're just going to fold the edges up around our chuck roast, and then we'll shut our lid and give our chuck roast around 30 minutes to get that bark back. And as you can see, that bark has come back beautifully. That's looking really nice. None of that is coming off on my finger. So we can get this out and onto our cutting bench. And I'm just going to shut both of our vents down, and whatever briquettes we've got left over, I can use in the next cook. And now our chuck roast is out. I'm just going to let that steam off. So I'm just going to leave that foil open. That's going to stop the cooking process. I'll let that happen for around 5 minutes, and then I'm going to cover that foil back over, and we'll let this rest for a good hour before we come back to slice and serve it. All right, and after a nice little rest, let's get this out and slice it up. I'm just going to slice this straight in half for now. And that is looking pretty good. Right, now we'll just take some slices off. Look at that. Bending just like a brisket. Nice and tender. Let's have a quick taste. That is bloody good. Still nice and tender, juicy as, full of flavour. Meat prices vary all around the world, so if you can get chuck cheaper than brisket, definitely give this a shot. And like I said, chuck roasts make great pulled beef, so if you want to follow along with this video and make some pulled beef, you absolutely can. Just take it a little bit further where that probe tenderness is a little bit softer. All right, this is how I'm going to serve it. Some of that beautiful sliced chuck. Plenty of that on there. And then I've just fried up some onion and capsicum, and then we'll just simply top that with some of our barbecue sauce. So simple, but I know it's going to be so tasty. Well, there you have it. There's how to smoke a chuck roast. I definitely recommend doing it like that, especially if you can get chuck roast at a good price. I'll put everything you need to know down in the video description. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and make sure you've subscribed to the channel, as it really helps it. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. But for now, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of this off camera. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.